If you have a mature team, and you have a whole bunch of people that have been with you a long time in your practice life, and you're getting closer and closer to retirement, most or many of them might be getting closer and closer to retirement as well, which is great. It's been a wonderful ride. But you want to be mindful as part of your plan that you want to add some younger team members in there when the opportunity presents itself so that there's a predictable ability to carry it on and not have everybody come and quit right at the same time that you do, or that can really impact the value of your practice, or I should say the perception of the value in your practice, which of course then is what impacts the actual practice value. Does that make sense? So you want to groom your practice in a way to make it appealing for you to be in and to work in and to be productive in, but you also want to do it with the next person in mind, whether that's going to be a partner or an eventual person that buys you out. You want to do it with the next person in mind. And I think you should always have a 5-year plan. A new 5-year plan every year. And you want to plan these things that far out because that's really what they require. If, because of a life circumstance, because of illness, because of injury, disability, or even death, your plan requires radically different steps in it, so be it. And God forbid that ever happens to anybody in this room. But if it does happen, you really need to have a transition plan for what you're going to eventually do with your... I don't care if you're 30 years old. You need to have a transition plan in place right now for how you're going to transition your practice eventually under ideal conditions. And you need a second plan for how you're going to transition your practice under duress, in a crisis. Unfortunately, there are still a lot of practice transition people in our profession who are suggesting routinely, as part of a canned model that they use in every practice transition, that you don't tell your staff if you're going to transition your practice till you've got the deal done, and then you walk in and tell them at the last minute. For the fear, I have no idea what kind of warped logic this is, for the fear that if you tell your staff, they're going to either leave themselves or tell the patients. And so the practice will begin to unravel. I'm here to tell you, and I'm sure it's apparent from the story I just told you about Bart and Barb and the team in Ontario, that once your plan is put together, once your transition plan, your life plan, once your updated vision is put together, you need to be able to come back to your staff and share it with them and get them on board. You run a tremendous risk of severely damaging your practice value if you don't, and severely damaging the opportunity for the incoming new owner of the practice if you don't. Because while the selling doctor's introduction and endorsement are extremely important and very, very powerful, they pale by comparison to the endorsement by the staff. Let me give you an example. Let's just say you have a hygiene department. Let's just say in a specialty practice you have a key employee. You've got all key employees, but you have a key person that people really gravitate toward and are very familiar with and very comfortable with. And the patient comes, now it's a little different in endo because they have an episodic relationship with patients. So when you transition an endodontic practice, or an oral surgery practice for that matter, but particularly an endodontic practice, what you're transitioning is the referral relationship with the referral practices, as well as the reputation, the quality of the team, and everything else. When you transition a general practice, a pediatric practice, or so on, of course, you've got this captive patient base. Even in orthodontic practice, you have a finite captive relationship with them, but it is a captive relationship during active treatment and retention. But when you transition that, what happens if little Mrs. Jones, who's been in the practice for 24 years, comes in and asks Mary, the hygienist, so Mary, tell me about the new doctor in here, the new owner. And Mary, would you want to run the risk that Mary might say, I don't know, I just met him myself this morning? Really? Yeah. Well, Mary, do you think you're going to stay here? Well, I don't know. I hope to. If we're compatible and he's a nice person or she's a nice person, I would certainly like to do that. Well, Mary, if you don't stay here, will you please let me know where you go? You know? Or how about this? So, Mary, tell me about the new dentist. Oh, what do you want to know? We've been involved in, we've known about this thing. We've been conducting a search. We've interviewed several different people. This person, let me tell you all about her background. This person is the one that everyone thought, fits best in our practice, and we just love her, and we're really looking forward to having her here on a full-time basis. And, Mrs. Jones just audibly breathes a sigh of relief. It says, I just got your endorsement, didn't I, Mary? Yep. She doesn't say that, but that's really what she just received. So don't ever let anybody talk you into pulling a Thursday night massacre where you don't tell anybody until the whole deal's done with the broker and the accountant and the attorneys, and then you bring the new owner in there and have a, by the way, gang, can we all get together at 5 o'clock today? It shouldn't take long. And you bring him in and you say, well, thanks for staying around after work, gang. I'd like to introduce you to the new owner. Everybody says, what? What they really say is, I thought we had a relationship long earned based on trust.